How a battle became a word for humiliation in the Italian language Battle of Caporetto. With a few hundred German troops, Erwin Rommel captured several thousand Italian troops without even a single bullet fired. The German army officer with his 50-odd men moved towards a 9,000-strong Italian camp. With his gun in one hand and white cloth, the German army officer waved at the Italian camp. The Italian soldiers ran towards the German officer shouting, "Long live Germany," rather than firing bullets. The entire Italian division surrendered and lifted the German officer, and took him on a victory parade. The Italian soldiers even shot an Italian officer who protested the surrender. The German military officer who charmed the enemy camp was Erwin Rommel. In the future will be called a desert fox and become a field marshal. His blitzkrieg tactics made him one of the most successful generals of World War II. World War I. World War I, or the Great War, the first world battle fought on almost every continent. It started as tension that built up between European powers. Germany, with its aggressive propaganda, wanted to expand its influence in Europe. In contrast, Britain, having contended with its colony of British India, wanted to cling to it. With the assassination of Archduke of Austria, the war kicked off officially. The war saw the first-hand use of mechanized warfare, with tanks and aircrafts used extensively in combat. The trenches along the French-German and French-Belgian borders bogged down the advancing German army. It started the bloodiest stalemate in human history. Every day, each side would try to advance and capture the enemy trenches by running in no man's land. Machine guns and artillery mowed down the advancing enemy soldiers. The situation in trenches was also not so good. Trenches were disease-infected pits, with the famous Spanish flu tens of killing thousands of soldiers on both sides. The war on the Italian border was also under stalemate, with the German and Italian troops locked up in the Alps. The German forces in the Italian campaign consisted of the Württemberg Mountaineer Brigade with 500 men. They mainly consisted of hobby mountaineers and athletes. One man among them would outshine by the end of the war. It was Erwin Rommel. The Battle of Caporetto. The Italian morale was low. The strict Italian military generals had an iron grip on the troops. The Italian military will shoot any deserter. Without any action, for an extended period, the Italians were feeling bored. The German side ran out of food stock and immediately needed an offensive to seal a quick victory. 50 men and 6 heavy gunners under the command of Rommel planned for a surprise attack on the defensive positions of the Italians. Thus started the Battle of Caporetto. Rommel and team climbed the treacherous hills and took unconventional routes where the Italians least expect them. Their first victory came on the following day, when they occupied a heavy gun without shooting a bullet. That afternoon Rommel and team took an Italian position from the rear. The Italians thought they are rounded up by much bigger German forces and surrendered. With just 50 men, Rommel was able to capture 1,000 men, including 50 officers. Rommel and the team harassed the food trucks taking food for the defending Italian troops. German troops treated themselves with fresh bread, jam, and meat, which was a delicacy as German troops were on ration. Taking rest the next day, they cornered another Italian defense position of 1,000 men. Rommel tried his tactics of fast, swift, and surprise attack on the Italians. The defense position didn't fire a shot back but came running to welcome Rommel. Rommel was lifted and paraded around the Italian camp for saving them. Italian soldiers shot their fellow Italian officers, who condemned the surrender. The humiliating defeat at the Battle of Caporetto made Caporetto a term in the Italian language for humiliation. The aftermath. Overwhelmed by the recent quick victories, Rommel pushed more and succeeded. His bravery in the Italian front got him an Iron Cross, and the German press praised him as a war hero. After the German government signed the armistice with the Entente powers, Rommel was heartbroken. In the interwar period, between the First and Second World Wars, Rommel and his wife went on a bike trip in Italy. Rommel carefully documented his war strategy and published it as a book. World War II gave a new opportunity for Rommel to exhibit his military tactics. He was called Desert Fox by Allied commanders for his dominance over Allied forces in North Africa. Rommel was in charge of the Atlantic Wall defenses and later was accused by Nazis of helping in a plot to assassinate Hitler. Rommel was forced to drink poison and received a state funeral. After the end of World War II, Rommel was raised to prominence by Allied propaganda.